Hello, mathematicians. Today we are going to be learning about some time intervals. In other words, like when we start something and how long does it last. So kind of giving us the end time, the start time, and the end time, and figuring out how long something lasts. Before we look at this page, I wanted to mention a couple things. We have a couple abbreviations here that you have probably seen before. We have AM and PM. And so the word or the abbreviation AM comes from a Latin term, ante meridiem, and that means before midday. So this word means before, and meridiem kind of looks like the word middle. So this means middle of the day. And the middle of our day, we call that noon. So anytime we're talking about AM, that means before noon. Now it can get a little confusing because sometimes when we see AM, we might think like A means afternoon. Well, ante or ante means before noon. Now PM means post meridiem, again from Latin. If we were in school, we would ask Mr. Reynolds about this. The Latin word post means after, and meridiem again means midday, also known as noon. So AM before noon, PM means afternoon. Maybe we can think about this as past. P is sort of like for past. So that's a way that we could remember it. AM. Usually when we talk about the AM, we're talking about the morning time. And PM is sort of the afternoon and the evening. So AM before noon and PM after noon. So if I said that I was eating breakfast, would that be 9 o'clock AM or 9 o'clock PM? If I was eating breakfast, that would be 9 o'clock AM, right? Because that would be in the morning before noon. It wouldn't be 9 o'clock PM. That's when Miss Taylor would be getting ready for bed, 9 o'clock PM. Let's see, what about if I was going for a walk at 4 o'clock? So let's pretend Miss Taylor's going for a walk. It's a beautiful day outside. It's 4 o'clock. Is it 4 o'clock PM or 4 o'clock AM? That one would be 4 o'clock PM. So that would be in the afternoon, 4 o'clock afternoon, sort of right at the end of the school day, 4 o'clock PM. 4 o'clock AM, it would be dark outside. I would still be sleeping. That would be really before noon. That would sort of be like everybody's still asleep at 4 o'clock AM. All right, so AM and PM, just a little introduction before we look at our textbook pages for today. All right, so let's take a look at this page. And it's, so we have some kids here and they're watching TV. And we've got some nice green carpet in their house. Okay, so it says the television program starts at 9:10 a.m. a.m. ante meridiem before noon, so this is in the morning time, and ends at 9:35 a.m. on Sunday. So they're watching a show. It starts at 9:10, 10 after 9, and it ends at 9:35. Oh, that would be 25 minutes to 10. It lasts blank minutes. So in order to figure out how long it lasts, we can take a look at, well, let's see, where does it start? They're kind of showing us that down here. So it starts at 9:10, and then we can count by fives until we get to the time that it finishes, the time that it ends. And we know it starts here at 9:10, and then this clock over here is showing us where it stops at 9:35. And that would be the longhand on the 7. So what we can do is we can count by fives. So this person is helping us to see. We can go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And if I put that time on our big clock here, I might have to zoom out for us. See if I can zoom out here. Okay. So it starts at, let's see, 9, 10, which would look something like this, I think. There's 9, 10, and it stops at 9:35. Okay, so we can count by fives. 5, 10, 15. Is that right? Let me go back. I feel like I made a little mistake there. Let's try that again. I start at 9, 10. Yes. And I'm going to go till 9:35. Okay, let's try that again. So here's 9, 10. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And that's where it stops. And so 25 minutes have gone by. 25 minutes has elapsed. It's gone by. So the TV show was 25 minutes long. All right, we have a little bit more practice here. It says, how long does each television program last? Well, if it starts at 3 o'clock and that it looks like it ends at 3:25, and we know from 3 o'clock to 3:25, well, we can just count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Or we can think about, well, I know 5 times 5 is 25. 25 minutes passed. Let's see, and that looks like kind of a music show. And then there's a cartoon show. Looks like a cartoon rabbit. And the cartoon rabbit show starts at, let's see, it's between the 4 and the 5. The hour hand is between the 4 and the 5. That means it's still in the 4 o'clock hour. I know it kind of looks like it's 5 o'clock. It's not 5 o'clock yet because it's right between them. So it's 4:45. And that is when it starts. And if this were my workbook, I would write down the time right underneath it. I would say, oh, I know this is 4:45, and it ends at 5 o'clock. And I would write both of those times right under here. 4:45 to 5 o'clock. I can count by fives. 5, 10, 15. So the cartoon show lasts 15 minutes. What about story time? Story time starts at 6:15. It's a 6:15. Story time. All right, so we got story time. It's 6:15. It's a 6:15. It ends at, let's see, it's between the 6 and the 7. 6:40. So I'm going to go back to when it starts. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So 25 minutes for story time. And the last one we have is the news. Ooh, he looks like an interesting news guy, doesn't he? Very excited about something. All right. So the time is, it's between 7 and 8, so it's still in the 7 o'clock hour, 7:45. And it ends at 8:15. Ooh. And this one is kind of interesting because it goes from the 9 all the way across to the 3. And I know when I go halfway across the circle in the clock, that is a half an hour, 30 minutes. So I know that is 30 minutes long. All right. Let's see. We have, so here's a little reminder there telling us that 1 hour later. So if we're going a whole hour later, not just minutes later, like for example, here's 3 o'clock. The next hour is 4 o'clock. So if we wanted to put that on our big clock here, I can, there we have 3 o'clock on our big clock here. Zoom out for us. Here's 3 o'clock. 1 hour later, it goes all the way around the circle one time. Now it's 4 o'clock. And we know that is the same as 60 minutes. 1 hour is 60 minutes. So I'm going to skip down here to the last one. Now we're doing some hours. So let's go down here. How many hours are there from 5:45 to 11:45? Ooh, so now this one, we're starting at 5:45 and we're ending at 11:45. So we're thinking about how many times is the hour hand going around all the way. So it's starting at 5:45. And if I wanted to put that on my clock here, I could. Here we go. So we're starting at 5:45. And then we're going 1 hour later would be 6:45. Another hour later would be 7:45. Another hour later would be 8:45. 9:45. 10:45, 11:45. Oh dear, I've lost track of the hours. Now, I was doing a pretty good job. I was going all the way around my clock, but I kind of lost track of, wait a second, when did I start and when did I end? So what I like to do in this situation is just use my fingers to keep track of how many hours have gone by. So we start at 5:45. I'm going to go around one time. That's 6:45, 7:45, 8:45, 9:45, 10:45, 11:45. And if I keep track on my fingers, I know that that is 6 hours later. So again, you can think about, well, if it starts at 5:45, 6:45, 7:45, 8:45. Whoops, did I kind of freeze up there for a sec? So you can go ahead and use your fingers to keep track. Okay. So your homework for today is pages 122 to 125. And in your workbook, you can definitely write in it and count by fives if that helps you. So like here, they're showing you it starts, if something starts at 4:30, it ends at 4:45. You could go ahead and take this clock here and count 5, 10, 15. And then you can see that 15 minutes later, it would be 4:45. All right. Now again, on this page, we have some hours later. So if we're talking about how many hours later it is, for example, this one we start at 4:30 and we end at 7:30, we can keep track by saying, well, here's 4:30. 1 hour later is 5:30. Another hour later, 6:30. Another hour later, 7:30. And then I know it's 3 hours later. Alrighty, and let's see, I think. Now this page might be kind of tricky. Now this page has, some of them are minutes, how many minutes it is later. But, well, yeah, actually all of these are minutes later. But be careful. Again, I would recommend that you you can go ahead and draw on your clock. You can draw kind of the 5 minutes that are going by. Especially this one, there are quite a few minutes. It's not quite an hour. You start at 8:35. Another hour would be 9:35, but it's not quite an hour later. So go ahead and draw the skip counting by fives if that helps you. All right, and our last page. So we have to do a couple things here. We have to write the times and then write how many minutes later it is. So, and this is always a good idea to first just draw or write what the times are. So this one, it would be 2:50, and I would just write that here. It's 2:50. It's not 3:50. It's almost 3 o'clock. It's 10 minutes to 3. And then how many minutes later would it be 3 o'clock? Oh, so I can just put 3 o'clock here, 2:50, 5, 10, 10 minutes later. So 2:50, 10 minutes later, it would be 3 o'clock. All right. So that is a little bit of practice with time and time intervals and when things start and when things end. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I will see you tomorrow, mathematicians. Let me know if you have any questions. You can send me a message and I will help you out. Bye.